Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is Straight Outta Boston here. Today I'm back for episode number 3 of my Cincinnati Reds franchise series here on MLB The Show 16. So here we go with the first year player draft. We have the number 2 overall pick coming into this year. Here are a few of the guys that I had highlighted before the draft. Luis Cruz was one of them, a catching prospect, 75 potential, fully scouted accuracy. And Tommy Craven as well, a little bit higher of an overall. Both were projected to be kind of long-term projects, though. I was looking for a little bit more immediate help, so I went with Mario Cortez instead. And we're going to see how this ended up playing out. He was an 80-grade potential, but not quite as accurately scouted as the other two, so it was a little bit more of a risk. Here you can see in the second round, I was considering guys like William Lloyd, Luis Villegas as well, a couple more guys who weren't quite all the way scouted, but still had high potentials. I wanted to play it safe with the second round pick, though, because we did kind of take a risk with the first round pick. So I went with Eddie Ordonez instead, 75 potential, and we knew that that was his potential because he was green scouted. And then it turns out Luis Velasquez was actually, or Villegas, I should say, was actually available in the third round, and William Lloyd was available in the fourth round, so we ended up getting all three of those guys. And you can see here, Mario Cortez's potential turned out to be an 86, probably not quite as high as we would have been looking for there with the number 2 overall pick, but the rest of our draft is actually pretty good. Here is Luis Cruz. He turned out to be only a 45 overall, already 21 years old. Tommy Craven a little bit better, 52 overall, and he's only 18, plus he can play a few different positions, so I think that would have actually been the right pick right there. But I'm really not too mad about getting Cortez. I think he can still be a pretty good pitcher for us down the road. Kevin Key was the closer who went number 1 overall to the Phillies. Devin Mesoraco was our only all-star representative this season. Surprisingly, he made the team over Joey Votto. I know that the NL is pretty deep at first base. I think Freddie Freeman and Anthony Rizzo made it over Votto, but still, I was very surprised. Now getting into some of the trades that we decided to make in this episode. The first was for Yangervis Solarte, a bit of a utility man, but some really good ratings in this game. And he was pretty much the top value I could get for Jay Bruce. I'm going to talk a little bit more about each of these trades when we actually get into the gameplay. Here's a big one, though. Homer Bailey, Dan Straley, and AJ Morris for Travis Shaw and Clay Buchholz. I'll talk about that one. That's definitely the biggest we made. I'm going to go very into depth in that one coming up. And then the final trade we made in this episode was Brandon Phillips for Dalton Pompey and Dominic Brown. You can see we're going to pull the trigger on this one and make the move. So anyway, we would end up sending Jose Peraza down back to AAA with the acquisitions of Yangervis Solarte and Dalton Pompey, as well as Travis Shaw, a few new major leaguers that we're going to be adding to the club. And then for this episode, we're going to be playing this late July game against the Arizona Diamondbacks. It's going to be Zach Greinke versus Clay Buchholz. So anyway, the first trade I'm going to talk about is the biggest one that we did. Homer Bailey, Dan Straley, and AJ Morris for Clay Buchholz and Travis Shaw. So Homer Bailey was a guy that I knew I wanted to trade. You know, the Reds, I don't really feel like it's worth it kind of going halfway on this rebuild. There was a recent story that was actually reported by John Heyman that Todd Frazier had wanted to stay with the Reds in the offseason, but the Reds were really just intent on going with the full rebuild, and I would have done the same thing. To extend Frazier for like 6 or 7 years, well into his late 30s, would have been a mistake in my opinion. So I agree with the move for them, you know, trading Frazier, although I'm not really sure the package they got back was the best. I think that's really the biggest thing with the Reds is I'm not really sure the trades that they did make. I don't really think they got the best prospects. I mean, I'm not exactly a professional scout, and we're never really going to be able to know until those guys kind of come to fruition at the major league level, but just kind of evaluating it from, you know, my couch or whatever, so to say, I really don't think those trades were the best, but still, because the Reds are kind of intent on this full rebuild, I wanted to carry that out in this franchise, and Homer Bailey, although he is under contract, he makes a lot of money, as check out Travis Shaw. He absolutely turns on this fastball and hits a moonshot to deep right center field. That was a long bomb right there. I'm not sure how far this one went, but it had to be well over 400 feet, as that one traveled quite a ways, almost like his home run in Atlanta the other night. But anyway, so like I said, Bailey was a guy I knew I wanted to move, and I was looking at teams who needed starting pitching help, teams that were contenders, and the Red Sox were one that jumped to me, and a guy that I really knew I wanted to target if I was going to make a deal with the Red Sox was going to be Travis Shaw. Shaw is not only one of my favorite players in real life, I actually was not really a believer in Travis Shaw, but the way he's played to start out this year, I'm really starting to come around and think that he is going to be an everyday major leaguer for the foreseeable future. And his ratings in this game are really good. And, you know, I've done a few like simulation franchises just to kind of test out the way that guys progress in this game and to look at some of the OSFM rosters. And Travis Shaw is a guy that usually performs really well in these franchises. His hitting ratings just seem to really, I guess, play up well in the simulation. And on top of that, he just overall quite often goes up into the mid-80s. So I think Shaw can be our third baseman of the future. And of course, that means moving Eugenio Suarez back to shortstop. And I do want to keep Suarez around. I think he's also going to be a part of this team's future, but I think he's probably going to be more valuable for us at shortstop. So we have a little bit of a logjam in the infield now after we got Yangervis Solarte as well. Solarte's a utility man, but I have him playing second base right now. Everett Cabrera is on the bench this game. He's going to be rotated in eventually, though. We're going to have games where Solarte plays in the outfield. Of course, replacing Jay Bruce out and right. We're probably going to try and limit Dom Brown's plate appearances against lefties. But I'll get into those other trades in a moment here. Let's get back to the Red Sox one. So you're probably wondering why I wanted to pick up Clay Buchholz. And really the reason was he had been really struggling with Boston. And when we offered up Straley, Morris, and Homer Bailey for Travis Shaw, I thought that was kind of not really getting fair value back for us. So I added in Buchholz because he was really struggling with Boston. He's a free agent at the end of the year. And with Bailey coming in, they don't really have room for him anymore. So I decided I would pick up Buchholz and see if I can try and play up his value here in the next few weeks and then flip him at the deadline as well. He currently has no value to us. Even if we wanted to re-sign him, it doesn't make any sense to keep him for the rest of the year. We're not contenders, and we can't give him a qualifying offer because we picked him up mid-season. So it just doesn't make sense to keep him around. He is absolutely 100% going to be traded, no doubt about it. Dan Straley was a guy that the Red Sox really valued. He had he really helped. If you guys know what I'm talking about with the trade meter in the game, he really helps the meter push more towards the middle. So the Red Sox really liked him, and then AJ Morris was kind of a throw-in. We just needed one more guy to make the trade work. So anyway, that pretty much sums up that deal. Let's move on to the first deal that I made with the San Diego Padres. So Jay Bruce is the guy that I also knew I wanted to move. He's got one more year left on his contract, but over the last few seasons, really ever since he had that knee injury a couple years back, he's really not been the same player. And his value is very low. He's only 76 overall in this game. Big contract, so I knew I wasn't going to be able to get much for him. But one team that was interested was the San Diego Padres, and they do need some outfielders. They don't really have I think they really only had like maybe even one starting caliber outfielder, to be honest, when I was looking at it. I don't quite remember. But and one guy I know I wanted to target in this franchise was going to be Yangervis Solarte, because he's another guy who not only can play a lot of positions, but also has really good hitting ratings in this game. So I figured he would be a good addition to the team. And, I'm thinking he's going to be a piece for us in the future. And the thing about him, like I said, is that he's not limited to one position. He can really play all around the diamond, and I think that's really going to help him find a role on this team. That is especially valuable in the NL with the double switch. So I'm really excited about getting Solarte. And then the third and final trade was Brandon Phillips for Dalton Pompey and Dominic Brown. So Phillips, I was shopping around. I knew I didn't want to keep him past this season, and he really did not have a lot of value around the rest of the league, much like Jay Bruce. Although one contending team that needed a second baseman was the Toronto Blue Jays. They had not gotten a lot of production out of Devin Travis or Ryan Goins, and they had one other guy too, I couldn't remember, but they just had a big hole at second base, so I figured they could use Phillips. And Pompey, not a great prospect, B potential, already in his, I think he's 24 already, and he's only 73 overall, so I don't really have high hopes for Pompey. I'm hoping that he's going to work out, but I'm not, really banking on it necessarily. And then Dom Brown was just kind of a throw-in. Toronto didn't really have any other prospects that I was interested in that they would have offered up in that trade, so I just decided to get Brown simply because he's always been one of my favorite players to use in MLB The Show. As if you guys have been fans of my franchises in the past, you would know. So anyway, I kind of talked, about the trades for most of this gameplay here. Arizona took a 6-2 lead there in the top half of the ninth, so on to the bottom half. And you can see here I'm going to absolutely screw up the base running once again, get Schebler picked off there at first. He got the nice hit. He was pinch hitting there for the pitcher, Jumbo Diaz. So now with one out in the inning, Billy Hamilton's actually going to get the run home here and make it a 6-3 ball game. So we do get one more run, but now there's 2 outs. And it's Yangervis Solarte, who's our last hope. And Dominic Leone is on the mound now. He is going to induce the ground out, and that is going to end off the game. So the Diamondbacks pick up the win. They win the ball game 6-3. It's our first loss in a gameplay so far in this series. And we're going to do 2 more regular season episodes. I'm going to do 2 games past the trade deadline, and then we're going to get right into the offseason, because I've talked about it before, but I really want to breeze through season number 1 and possibly season number 2 as well. I'll probably play a few more games in season number 2, but I think seasons like 3, 4, and 5 are really where we're going to start to play closer to 9, 10, 11 games in the regular season. So anyway, that is pretty much going to do it. Hope you guys enjoy. If you guys have any further comments or thoughts on the trades, you can definitely let them or share them in the comment section below. I'll definitely be looking at the comments and replying. But let me know what you thought of the trades. I thought I was pretty happy with all of them. The one thing that I think people might be a little bit surprised at is the fact that we really didn't pick up any top prospects necessarily. I kind of went for some more major league ready guys, and that wasn't really intentional. It's just sort of, I kind of went for the trades I thought we could get the most value out of, and I thought that getting guys like Travis Shaw and Yangervis Solarte, although maybe not guys with the highest ceilings in the world, I think you know, those were the best guys to go after. And I do find that in this year's game, it's a lot harder to trade for top prospects. The real ways you're going to get the top prospects in your system are going to be through the draft. So, anyway, that's pretty much going to do it. Hope you guys enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I'm out. Peace.